Good afternoon, everybody. Pigskin Pete here. Happy Thursday to everybody. This video today is I'm going to do what everybody and their mother in America on YouTube is doing, and I'm going to do a first-round NFL mock draft. Now, one thing you'll notice about this mock draft, and probably the way the draft will really happen, is that this is a very defensive-heavy draft. The quarterbacks aren't too deep. There's more teams that need a quarterback to draft than there are really available, especially in the first round. It's very hard to predict where these players are going to go, but I'm just going to do my best to give you my opinions on this. Now, look, it doesn't matter if you're Mel Kiper or every other mock draft maker in America. You're not going to get them all right, and as a matter of fact, you're probably going to get most of them wrong exactly where they land. But I'm going to give you my opinion on the first round here. Oakland's got 3 picks, right? A couple of teams have 2 picks, so we'll see. Now, one thing you'll also notice with my mock draft is you can't predict who's trading up to get what. So you won't see any trades here, and I'm sure, just like every year in the real draft, some teams are going to trade up to get players. So that'll throw everything off. But for the sake of my own sanity, I'm not doing any predictions of trading up to get this player or that player. So let's just get right into it here. With the first pick in the draft, the Arizona Cardinals, I believe, will draft defensive end Nick Bosa from the Ohio State University. Nick Bosa famously had a core muscle injury, whatever that means. That means it's somewhere between your crotch and your chest. That's your core. And sat out the rest of the season, and Ohio State fans like to blame that on their season, even though they had a great season. Anyway, Nick Bosa is an absolute monster, absolute beast, probably the best defensive end in the draft, and I believe the Arizona Cardinals will pick him up with the number 1 pick. Number 2 pick, defensive tackle Ed Oliver to the San Francisco 49ers. Ed Oliver is listed as a defensive tackle. He plays for Houston, which is a whole story in itself. This guy has some questionable character issues. He got into a fight with the coaches on the sideline one time when he was sitting out and he was wearing a jacket. They said you can't wear the jacket if you're not playing, and he started pushing and shoving people and this and that. Anyway, this guy's a monster. This guy's a beast. Okay, he's listed as a defensive tackle in college. That's the position he played. But I would not be surprised if he was moved to defensive end. Either way, whether he's a tackle or an end or both, which is probably what will end up happening in his professional career, is he'll play both, and they'll move him around. But I believe he'll be the second pick. Maybe the first, but at least the second pick in the draft to the 49ers. Number 3 pick in the draft, the New York Jets will select, I think, defensive end Clelin Ferrell from Clemson University. Yeah, that's it. I've got Clelin Ferrell going in the top 5, and I've got him going to the Jets. They need a pass rush, and he can do it for you. Number 4, the Oakland Raiders, with one of their 3 or 4 picks. I think they got 3 picks in the first round because they traded away their life. They traded away their season, not their life, with Khalil Mack and then Amari Cooper, and of course they already had a pick because they're terrible. Anyway, the Oakland Raiders, I believe, will also go defensive end in some sort of effort to try to replace Khalil Mack. Now, replacing Khalil Mack is not going to happen. You're talking about probably the best pass rusher in the NFL. But you got to try to. So whether it's Josh Allen or Clelin Ferrell or Ed Oliver or Nick Bosa, whichever one of these guys, whichever one of these defensive ends, defensive tackles, whatever, is available for them to get that high draft pick with, they're going to take it. So I got Josh Allen, defensive end, going to Oakland with their first pick. Next pick goes to Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, anybody who's been watching Tampa Bay, listen, they've got needs upon needs upon needs. Now, I don't believe they're going to take a quarterback. They've already said they're going to bring Jameis Winston back. And so if they bring Jameis Winston back and give him extension, that is their guy for the foreseeable future. They're going to give him big money to do so. So that leaves what they really need. Anybody who saw the Bucs play this year, they got a lot of needs, like I said, but whether it was Fitzmagic or Jameis Winston playing quarterback, they were running for their friggin' lives. They needed offensive linemen in the worst way. So I think they're going to go with Jonah Williams, offensive tackle. That would be the highest rated, in my opinion, offensive linemen in this draft. So I believe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will snatch up an offensive lineman, Jonah Williams. Next pick goes to the New York Giants. Here we go with the quarterbacks. Who will they take? Will it be Haskins? Will it be Locke? Will it be Kyler Murray? I'm betting on Haskins. I don't know. It could be any. The quarterback, the order that the quarterbacks go in this draft are so hard to figure out. More than even in years past. Now, every year is a little bit hard to figure out. Now, last year, I predicted that Baker Mayfield would be the first one taken, and I also predicted that Baker Mayfield would be a viable starter and have a great career in the NFL. And so far, I'm looking like a genius, like everybody knows that I am. All you people that said Baker Mayfield's too small, he doesn't translate to the NFL. All he did was go to Cleveland with the #1 pick, and they said he was Johnny Manziel and all this other crazy stuff that you could tell that people don't watch football when they say stuff like that. And all he did was go take a team that has won 2 games in the past 2 years and took them to one game away from being in the playoffs. But anyways, enough beating my chest about I told you so, I told you so, or I told you so about Baker Mayfield. I believe that Dwayne Haskins will go to the New York Giants with their first pick. And Eli Manning will, I don't know. That's hard to say. I don't know what's going to happen with Manning. He may be gone before the start of next season, or he may end up serving a mentor role to whoever they draft at quarterback. But I believe they're taking a quarterback. Next on the list, we had the Jacksonville Jaguars, another team that needs a quarterback in the worst way. Now, this one might surprise you because I've seen a lot of mock drafts that have Kyler Murray going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I've also seen several that have Drew Lock going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, any of those 2 possibilities may be more likely than what I'm going to tell you, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and shock everybody in the whole world, everybody's listening, and say that Daniel Jones, the quarterback from Duke, will go to the Jacksonville Jaguars in the first round. I believe that Daniel Jones is a better pro prospect than both. Well, not both. I'm going to say I think he's a better prospect than Locke. I think he'll be a better pro. But you're splitting hairs. These are both very prototypical, big arm, pocket passing quarterbacks. Obviously, Drew Lock has the stats to back up any argument for him, and I'm not going to argue with that. Daniel Jones just happened to play on a worse team. Or not a worse, well, yeah, a worse team. In a different style of offense. But Daniel Jones is, I mean, if you could build a prototypical pro quarterback in a lab, it would look like Daniel Jones and Drew Lock. But I'm putting my money on Daniel Jones to the Jaguars. Next on the list, Detroit Lions. I have corner. Now, this is another team. This is another team that has a lot of needs. But I believe they're going to go defense, and I believe they're going to go cornerback, and I think Greedy Williams is going to be the first cornerback off of the board. So I have Greedy Williams going to Detroit. Next on the list, we have Buffalo. The Buffalo Bills. This is another team that has a lot of needs. Last year, they spent their first pick on a quarterback, Josh Allen. And another situation where this guy's been running for his life the entire season. So I think you're going to see an offensive lineman, and I'm taking Greg Little, offensive tackle, to the Buffalo Bills with their first pick. Next on the list, we have Denver. Now, this is a team that I believe is going to take a quarterback as well. So they traded for, what's his face? I always forget this guy's name. He's so forgettable. This is part of the problem. And I can picture his face and everything. And as soon as I get off this stream, I'll remember his name. Anyway, they got the Vikings quarterback in the trade, right? So the Vikings picked up Kirk Cousins, and then the Redskins traded Kirk Cousins, but they got Alex Smith. Alex Smith gets hurt with the Redskins, and then what's-his-face goes to the Vikings. He's a good player. He's not going to win the playoff games. And we all know that it's sort of like the searching for the gold at the end of the rainbow. The Broncos have been searching for an elite franchise quarterback since Elway took over that team, and they just keep swinging and missing and swinging and missing and swinging and missing. But since I believe that Haskins will be off the board, and I also believe that Daniel Jones will be off the board, and I don't think for whatever reason that Elway wants to draft a dual threat type of guy like Kyler Murray, even though I think Kyler Murray would be probably a good fit there, I believe he's going to go a whole nother direction and take Drew Lock. Now, if Drew Lock ends up going to Jacksonville and Daniel Jones is the one that's there, I believe that they'll take him. Anyway, what I think that Elway is looking for is a prototypical pocket passer quarterback. So whether that's Drew Lock or Daniel Jones. That whichever one's left, I believe he'll take. So, but in my draft, I have Drew Lock going to Denver. Next on the list, we have Cincinnati. Cincinnati, another team that needs a lot of stuff. So, I mean, you just like stick your hand in the hat and pull out the name that the best fits whatever you're looking for. I have linebacker Devin White going to Cincinnati. That's a hard one. Cincinnati's probably top 3 hardest teams to figure out what they're going to draft, what position. But in this, for the sake of conversation here, I have Devin White, linebacker, going to Cincinnati. Next pick goes to Green Bay. Oh, man, Green Bay. I'd say they're safe at quarterback, obviously. I'd say they're safe at wide receiver. They have a core of wide receivers. The defense needs work all across the board. Running back is another big need, but I think that they're going to stick with what the young guy, the group they have there. Not a lot of running backs going in the first round. I don't have any running backs going in the first round. Not that there won't be. Not a very deep running back class, though. So I have, for Green Bay, Deontay Thompson, safety. And they need help on the back end in the worst way. So I'm sticking with that. What's going on here? Okay. Let's see. Next pick goes to Miami. Now, I've been saying this since he announced for the draft, and I still believe this to be true, and we'll see if I'm right. I believe that Kyler Murray will be drafted in the first round by the Miami Dolphins. I could expand on that for another hour, but you don't have time for that, neither do I, so that's it. Let's just see what happens. I'm predicting Kyler Murray will be a Miami Dolphin in 2019. There you go. Next pick goes to the Atlanta Falcons, the team I love to hate the most out of all teams in the football, other than every other one except for Atlanta. I have Quinnen Williams, defensive tackle. Now, most mock drafts that you look at, Quinnen Williams is going to go way before Atlanta picks. Okay, Atlanta's another team. They need a defensive end. Vic Beasley is the fans there are sick of him. They think that he's a bust. I had this conversation yesterday with David from Atlanta, but I don't know. They might get a defensive end, but assuming that the 3 defensive ends, the top 3 in the draft are going to be off the board by then, which I think they will before this pick. I still think they want to go defense. I still think they want to go defensive lineman. Now, you could say they have Grady Jarrett. So why would they need Quinnen Williams? He's this plays the interior as well of the line, defensive line. Well, listen, there's one rule in pro football. You can never have too many elite interior defensive linemen. So imagine the combination of Grady Jarrett and Quinnen Williams together. Scary, especially for a Panthers fan like me. I have Quinnen Williams going to the Atlanta Falcons with the first pick. Next pick goes to the Washington Redskins. Now, this is where the quarterback thing gets really interesting because Alex Smith gets hurt. They're projecting he will not be able to play next year. Who's next on that list? Colt McCoy. Oh, geez, Colt McCoy. Who else is there? Listen, they need to draft a quarterback. I feel terrible for Alex Smith that happened to him, but it happened, and they need a quarterback. They're not going to win that division without a quarterback. Or their future does not look bright without a quarterback. We don't even know what's going to happen with Alex Smith. I hope he comes back after next year, but there's no guarantee of that. So I think they got to go quarterback here. And again, whether that's Kyler Murray, some people, there's a lot of people actually that have Kyler Murray falling to Washington, and if he's available there, I think they will take him. It could be Drew Lock. It could be any of these guys. But according to my draft, since those 3 guys are already off the board, the next one on the list, according to Pigskin Pete, is Ryan Finley out of NC State. Another big prototypical pocket passing quarterback. Ryan Finley's a very interesting prospect. I think if he doesn't go in the first round, I'd be shocked. But if he falls out of the first round, whoever gets him will be getting a steal. I really believe that Finley will be a viable starter eventually in the NFL. I don't know how he's going to translate his first year or anything like that, but I think he's very serviceable and a great player. So I have Ryan Finley going to Washington. Next pick is to my Carolina Panthers. Now, man, what do you do? So we let go of God knows. we let him go. I'm not trying to forget about him. We got Luke Kuechly, Thomas Davis. Thomas Davis is gone. They cut him. He'll end up somewhere. He wants to play a few more years, but he's aging. Luke Kuechly, maybe the best linebacker in the NFL, definitely top 2 or 3. Has injury problems. God bless him. We don't know. You don't ever know what's going to happen with him. So Julius Peppers, defensive end, this guy's 100 years old. I love Julius Peppers. One of the greatest Panthers to ever play, and Hall of Famer in my eyes, for sure. But old. Sorry. The secondary, our defense, the average age on our defense has probably got to be in their 30s. It's crazy. So, I think the Panthers are going to draft it. We've been drafting offense in the first round the past few years, which is pretty shocking considering the fact that we have a defensive head coach and we're known to be a defensive team. But anyways, so I think that we're going to go with a linebacker, and I think that linebacker will be Montez Sweat. Next pick goes to the Cleveland Browns. And man, am I happy to report that I have none other than nose tackle Dexter Lawrence going to the Cleveland Browns, defensive lineman from Clemson. And I think that's going to be a great pick for whoever gets him. So anyway, that's just where I have him falling, is to Cleveland. Next pick goes to Minnesota, the Vikings. And we have 2 Tigers in a row on my draft going. Defensive tackle Christian Wilkins goes to the Minnesota Vikings. Skull! I think he would look good in purple. You know how I know that? Because I've seen him in it before. So anyway, I have Christian Wilkins going to the Minnesota Vikings from Clemson. Next pick goes to Tennessee. Another defensive tackle, Rashawn Gary. Tennessee is a team that has a lot of needs as well. And another team that's very, very hard to pick. But Rashawn Gary, elite defensive tackle, and I think he falls somehow, some way to the Titans. Next pick goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have them getting help on the back end, their biggest holes in their defense. And I have Byron Murphy, cornerback, going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Next pick, now that we haven't seen a wide receiver yet, have we? So the next pick goes to the Seattle Seahawks. You're bound to see at least 1, 2, maybe 3 wide receivers go in the first round of any draft. They don't usually go in the top 10 or 15, but once you get below there, that's when you start seeing some of them fall off the board. And so I have N'Keal Harry, wide receiver, going to Seattle. They have Baldwin, they have Lockett, but and listen, there's a lot of ways you could go with Seattle. Seattle could take an offensive lineman. I think that's very possible. But I do think that what they're going to do is try to shore up that back end on defense, whether that's the first round or second round. But with their first pick, I have N'Keal Harry, wide receiver, going to Seattle. Next pick on the list, we have Baltimore, the Ravens. I'm just going to keep this short and sweet. They really need a quarterback. They need to replace Flacco, but by this time, I think all of those top-tier quarterbacks will be off of the board, and so you don't want to waste your first-round pick on a second-tier quarterback. So I have linebacker Zach Allen going to Baltimore. And what better place to go if you're a linebacker than to Baltimore? This is a linebacker factory throughout history. And so I think that'd be a great place if he's lucky enough to get drafted there. Next pick goes to the Houston Texans. And wow, if you've been watching the Houston Texans since Deshaun Watson got there over the past 2 years, this guy runs more than Forrest Gump. And why does he run more than Forrest Gump? Because they have no offensive linemen that are worth a crap. All right, maybe 1 or 2. But you need all of them to be worth a crap, not just 1 or 2 of them, okay? And I won't name any names. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. If you're one of these offensive linemen, you come across this video, you're going to see me one day and snap my neck like a twig. So, anyway, I have Cody Ford, offensive lineman, going to Houston, and God knows they need it. They may need to use their first 2 picks to get offensive linemen. Help out Watson, please. Give him more than half of a second to throw the football to his elite wide receiving core. All right, next on the list, we have Oakland's second pick after all these trades they made. Again, I believe Oakland's going to go defense, 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 defense with their first 3 picks, okay? I have DeAndre Baker from the University of Georgia, cornerback, going to Oakland. I'm going to leave it there. Next on the list, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Eagles have a lot of different needs, too, and I'm sure Philly 500 and the rest of these, there's a lot of Philly video makers out there are probably going to come across this video and give me a virtual slap. Oops, I'm about to knock shit over. A virtual slap across the face for this pick. Or maybe they won't. Maybe they'll like this pick. But I have Philadelphia Eagles going wide receiver. I have them going A.J. Brown. This guy is amazing. Listen, Philly 500 and the rest of you Philly fans out there, before you give me a virtual slap across the face on YouTube or bitch at me in the comment section or cry to me, go look at some film on A.J. Brown, wide receiver. This guy is unbelievable. So I have A.J. Brown, wide receiver, going to Philly. I think it'd be a good place for him, too, by the way. I'd like to have him on the Panthers. We need an elite wide receiver. I just don't think the Panthers are going to go offense in the first round. But I'd take him in a heartbeat. If the Panthers took A.J. Brown, I'd be a happy camper. Not going to happen, though. Next pick goes to the Indianapolis Colts. They have a lot of needs, too. Their defense is really great, improved so much over the past couple of seasons. They've really spent a lot of effort and resources into shoring up that offensive line to protect Andrew Luck. And I would say maybe a running back, except they seem to have found one, and there's not a whole lot of running back talent, first-round talent in this draft. So I have wide receiver DK, not DJ, DK Metcalf, another elite wide receiver. I have them going to Indy. Somebody to help out T.Y. Hilton there. Next pick, the third pick by the Oakland Raiders. How long before we start calling the Las Vegas Raiders? Is that after next year or after 2020? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's still Oakland. They're still playing in the worst stadium in the history of all sports. Yeah, Oakland. I have linebacker Devin Bush. So now you've seen with Oakland's first 3 picks, they've gone defensive in my draft, defensive end, cornerback, and now linebacker Devin Bush. Next pick goes to the Los Angeles Chargers. The first tight end off the board, and the only tight end to go in the first round, Noah Fant, elite player. And listen, Antonio Gates this guy's like 60. He's like the Hunter Renfrow of the NFL. People are getting tired of those Hunter Renfrow age jokes, aren't they? Anyway, this guy, yeah. So I have Noah Fant going tight end going to the Chargers. Next pick goes to the Kansas City Chiefs. I have defensive tackle Jeff Simmons going to the Chiefs. The Chiefs are a team that are very hard to figure out as far as which route they're going to take, especially with the departure of Kareem Hunt. However, the guy that came in to take his place is looking very promising. So I'm going defense, and I'm going defensive tackle. That is the Chargers. The Chiefs' problem, isn't it? Defense. So I'm going Jeff Simmons, defensive tackle, to the Chiefs. Next pick goes to the Green Bay Packers. Now, this, much like some of these other teams like Houston, right? Poor Aaron Rodgers, this guy can't get out of his own way, and he's not built to run like Deshaun Watson. Now, he's good at escaping and throwing on the run, but wouldn't he rather not have to run and throw it? And wouldn't he rather just pick people apart from the pocket? And in order to do that, we need to get this guy some protection. So I have Jawan Taylor, offensive tackle, being the guy that's going to be assigned to keep Aaron Rodgers' $50 million arm intact. So I have offensive lineman Jawan Taylor going to Green Bay. Now, the 31st and the 32nd pick, obviously, we don't know yet because we don't know who's going to win the Super Bowl. So I have to make an assumption here. The Super Bowl has not been played yet. So I'm assuming the Patriots are going to win the Super Bowl, which would give the Rams the 31st pick and then the Patriots the 32nd pick. All right? Now, even if it doesn't happen that way, I'm still going to take the same players to each team. So whichever way this works out doesn't matter. I still have the same player going to the same team in my draft, my mock. So with the 31st pick, the Los Angeles Rams take Clemson's own Trayvon Mullen at cornerback. Yeah. How about that? New England with the 32nd pick. Now, trying to figure out who New England's going to draft in any round is virtually impossible. And they almost always have either the 31st or the 32nd pick. Every friggin' year. Last year they took, and they always draft very well too. But last year they took Sony Michel. They got their running back sorted out. Now the running joke is the joke that I'm going to confirm for you right here now today, Thursday, January 31st, 2019. You heard it here first or second, or maybe even 100 times. You've already heard this 100 times. With the steal and all of the draft, New England Patriots with the 32nd pick in the first round of the 2019 NFL Draft select wide receiver Hunter Renfrow from Clemson. That's it, folks. Have a great day. Pigskin Pete checking out.